Campfire question. Campfire question is back. And we are joined this week by a very special celebrity guest, baby girl, the Chihuahua.
Say hello, baby girl.
Also known as BG the Chi.
BG the Chi, she's here. She's awake. She's awake this time.
Today's Campfire question, Dwight A. Hunt Sr., who is a Loho member, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Asks, how do you think rising gas prices will impact RVers this year?
Well, a lot.
Yeah, a lot. I think this is a question that's on everyone's mind. The price of fuel keeps going up, up, up.
Yeah.
I want to upchuck.
For real.
You know, we have been doing this for quite a long time, and we have done some very long trips when fuel prices were sky high. I'm thinking one year we went to Alaska and back, and fuel prices were super high.
$120.27 Canadian for truck and jerry can.
So the specific question, how do we think the rising gas prices will impact RVers? I think more RVers who are concerned about fuel prices should look at RVing closer to home. Probably. I mean, that just makes sense. You know, you don't have to take a 5,000-mile journey to have a great time with your RV. In fact, I know a lot of people just go camping in their immediate vicinity.
Yeah.
You know, wherever you live in this country, you probably live near some beautiful state parks, some beautiful city parks, some fun private campgrounds, and maybe some BLM land if you're lucky. And so there are probably a lot of options nearby where you can go camping and have a great time and not spend too much on fuel.
Yeah, I think sticking close to home for people that are really concerned about the gas prices is really smart. I think the people it hits the hardest are the people with those Class A motorhomes, because a lot of those get single digits, 7 miles
They get
to the
several
gallon.
gallons per mile.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's toughest for them. And then people with smaller trailers, it does impact you, but it's not quite as painful. But again, explore your own backyard, go within that 3, 4, 5 hour drive radius from your home. I'm sure you'll find something cool to do there. Like he said, it doesn't have to be a cross-country adventure for it to be an adventure.
Yeah, something that I discovered the very first week after we had purchased our travel trailer, we took it out to a local park, which happens to be a state park, but still, it was a local park no more than a few miles from our home. And we went out and we stayed in our travel trailer for a couple of nights, and I really felt like I was 1,000 miles away.
Yeah.
That's the really interesting and fun thing about having an RV. You don't have to take it 1,000 miles to get that refreshment to your mind.
Yeah, the reboot,
You get the reboot because you get out of your normal routine, you get out in nature, and you can just have a great time. And we did. I will always remember that trip because we were super excited because it was our first time to really go properly camping with our travel trailer.
Yeah.
But we didn't travel very far to do that and have that experience.
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun. And we go back to that campground usually at least once a year for like a little shakedown trip where we test everything, make sure everything's working. And when we're there, it feels like we're somewhere far away because it's just far enough. It puts you in a different part of town. The scenery's a little different. You're in that campground state of mind. So, yeah.
And wherever you live, I will guarantee you, even if you've lived there a long time, there will be places in your region that you've never explored. Maybe some really cool places. I've told this story before, but I remember the first time I went to Rome, Italy. I was in my 20s, and I had a great friend who was an Italian girl who lived in Rome all her life. And I told her I was going to go visit the Roman Colosseum. And she said, oh, I'd like to go someday. I've never been. And I'm like, wait a minute, you grew up in Rome. You know, you've seen the Colosseum your entire life. And she's like, yeah, I've just never been inside. And so it just goes to show that you can have some wonderful things in your own hometown or in your backyard, and it's very common actually to not go explore them.
Yeah, so, you take your own backyard for granted. We do it ourselves. There are some really cool things in Alabama that we have not done that we should do. But, you know, we usually are heading out further away. But we need to make that a priority to go to some of these places closer to home.
So that's probably the best way to skirt around the high fuel prices. Just look at camping closer to home. You'll have a fantastic time, and you won't break the bank on gasolina.
Or diesel.
Or diesel. Speaking of gasolina, we're going to move on to another question from a Long Honeymoon channel member, Larry P. Larry P. asked, how much gasolina do you normally carry, and what is the most you've ever carried for your generator? As far as how much we typically carry, usually no more than a couple of gallons.
Usually we carry a 2-gallon container with us, so that's usually the most that we have on us at any one time.
Yeah, I personally don't like carrying a lot of gasoline, and in fact, the last couple of years, I've pretty much run with the fuel that was actually in our gasoline tank. One shortcoming of our 3,000-watt generator is that it has a pretty small fuel tank. It only holds about a gallon of fuel. So it is helpful to have an extra gallon or so with you. And that's why a lot of people also like to get dual fuel generators, because they could carry propane instead of gasoline. Some follow-up questions from Larry P. He asks, do you have a formula when boondocking for how much gas you need per day or week? How many hours per day do you typically run the generator, and what are you running? So Larry's really focused on gasoline and running a generator and how much gasoline he might need. It really does depend on your circumstances and how much you're stressing the generator. In other words, if you're putting it under a lot of load, running an RV air conditioner, then frankly, you're going to need a lot more gasoline.
Yeah.
If you're camping out west or up north, someplace where you can get by without running an air conditioner, then you can probably stretch out your fuel much longer.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that when we are camping somewhere where we don't have to use our air conditioner, and we're also not using our furnace at night, then we probably run our generator. I mean, if it's been sunny, we don't really have to run it at all because of our solar panels. But in days before we had our solar system, I would say we would run it for maybe an hour a day to recharge our batteries and just make sure everything was in good working order. But beyond that, you know, we wouldn't really use it. Now, if we're running our air conditioner, you know, I would say our generator on a full tank of gas will run our air conditioner for 7 hours?
Yes. And of course, that's going to vary depending upon the generator and the size of the generator's fuel tank and so forth.
And the size of your air conditioner, et cetera.
So we don't really have a formula. And typically, if we are using our generator to run an air conditioner, we rarely do that for longer than 5 or 6 hours, because usually we're moving on to some other place.
Right. Because we aren't usually boondocking somewhere for, you know, days at a time where we would need to run our air conditioner. It kind of defeats the purpose, because we would have to refill our fuel tanks to keep that generator running to cool things off. So that's not fun. And it's not fun to be running your generator when you're out boondocking for hours and hours at a time. It's one thing when you need to recharge some batteries if you've had an overcast day and you need to run it for an hour or two, but you don't want to be running it for 5 or 6 hours, because that's annoying and sort of ruins the environment, you know, for yourself and others if they are nearby.
Yeah, so these days, you know, we do have the luxury of a very robust solar package that has been installed in our Airstream that gives us a lot of freedom off the grid. We typically are just running our generator if we want to power our air conditioner for longer than a couple of hours, or if we need to top off our batteries. Like if we've had 2 or 3 cloudy days, then we may want to run the generator just to juice up our lithium batteries in the trailer.
Or it's been cold enough where we've been running our furnace all night, every night, then that really chews through your batteries to power those fans that blow the warm air out. So sometimes, our solar can't quite keep up, and we need a little boost from the generator. But usually, even then, only an hour or two, maybe.
So, all right. Thank you, Dwight and Larry, for the questions about the gasolina. I guess we might conclude by saying, don't let the high fuel prices discourage you from enjoying your RV. You might just rethink how you use your RV. You can still have a great time with it.
Yeah, I would just say if you're really concerned with those gas prices, look at destinations closer to home. Look at staying in one spot for longer periods of time rather than moving around a lot. Look at going to places where once you're there, you don't really need your vehicle anymore. You can ride a bike or walk to where you need to go. All those things will make, a difference for sure. Also, you might look into some of the gas-saving apps that you can find. We use Gas Buddy to find the best prices. There are some other apps that you can purchase and clubs that you can join to get discounts on fuel.
And one other thing you might consider if you're really concerned about fuel prices, an electric bike is a fun way to get around town. And, you can park your rig, hop on your electric bike, and then just go out and have fun with electricity.
Yep.
With your e-bike. Sorry, guys. That was another campfire question. Thanks for the questions. If you have a question you would like to ask Sean and Christy of Long Long Honeymoon, post a comment. We're always scanning your comments for the next campfire question.
What do you say, baby girl? She says,
see you next time, guys. If you're new, subscribe. Lo-lo-ho.
Lo-lo-ho. Lo-lo-ho.
Something smells good. You want to sunbathe? You can sunbathe if you want to. Yeah. Look at our little sunbather over here.